Today's Evening First Alert weather show is brought to you by Bresky Siding.
All right, good Tuesday evening, Mid-Michigan. Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick with your Bresky Siding and Building Repair live stream that we do every single night. And it looks like we had some temperatures that actually hit the 40s earlier today. Certainly felt nice. Wind chills, of course, not that friendly compared to the actual temps, but still a pretty good day overall. And even if it's not something that you permanently want just yet, even if you're still enjoying this winter, I know that many are enjoying the conditions out on the ice, but today was just a nice change to get a different feel to the air, not quite as bitterly cold as you went out. And if you watched our live stream last week when we talked with the airborne angler who goes out and takes all of his ice photos for safety and those types of things, we talked about how this week was actually some of the best conditions that we have, because you don't have to go out on the ice just completely bundled up. You can spend a little bit more time out there. You can tolerate it a little bit more. Obviously, you still have to be careful, but just because we had one day of above average temperatures doesn't mean the ice just instantaneously goes away. So we've built that up over the last couple of weeks. It will take some time to diminish. However, the more time that goes on, of course, and the more above average temperatures we get, well, of course, the faster that process happens. And today, upper 30s and low 40s, Mount Pleasant kind of leading the way at about 43, Alma at 41, Owasso, Midland, Gladwin, Standish, and West Branch all at 41 as well. Not quite as lucky in the thumb, but it seems like we definitely got a little bit warmer there too. And I don't really think this is going to be a trend that's going to be slowing down anytime soon. This takes us all the way to February 24th. This is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. And this goes beyond the 7-day forecast, which I'll show you in a minute. But this takes us all the way towards that end of the month time frame. And it doesn't seem like things are really going to change all that much. Now, does this mean every day is like today? No, average is technically only about 30. And so what this is saying is, okay, if we're at 32, 33, 34, that's still going to count. But I certainly think today is not our only day where we're going to hit 40 in the extended. I think we have a good chance to do so next week. And I also think this could be around not just for, say, Monday of next week. I think it could be multiple days, perhaps even into the middle of the week. So right now, since we were talking about it earlier, if anyone's curious, we're up to about 58.3% for our Great Lakes ice coverage, which is one of the better years that we have had in a while. I'm going to pull up the chart just to see what our historical ice coverage looks like this year compared to where we have been. And let me see, it's not pulling up that chart. Let me check out. For whatever reason, the ice graphics are not working tonight. So let me just see if, yeah, we're apparently having an outage, so I can't do that. But I can tell you it is one of the better ice seasons that we've had in a while. And enjoy it while you can, because you never know how much longer you're going to have it. And there are some potential ramifications into the summer months if we can keep that ice around a little bit longer. For those of you who remember some of the good ice years that we've had recently, 2019 comes to mind. And then also 2014, which was the polar vortex year. And then I think even 2015 was okay. But the one thing that I noticed the last couple of times we've had ice extend well into the spring, it did have an effect on summer temperatures, as you would expect. It keeps the ice around longer. That water's not able to warm up quite as fast, which kind of insulates us a little bit more from some of the heat that's around us. Now, we can still get warm, but it does tend to hold our temperatures back a little bit, as I looked at some of the previous years where ice went well into March and April. So there are some things that we look at with that. I'm going to pull up a couple of more graphics. This is kind of a longer term look here. This is what we call the national blend of models, and this is based on MBS Airport in Saginaw. And so what this does is it takes pretty much all of our models and does what the title is. It blends them all together, and what it does is it gives us kind of an average of all of those models, and you can clearly see going into late weekend and also into early next week, we pretty much stair-step our way right to Wednesday. And even if after we cool down Thursday and Friday, it still looks like we have a chance to be around the upper 30s to near 40. So next week looking pretty mild. And I think this week we've got, a day tomorrow that's closer to about the 30s. I think you'll see some 20s mixed in there too. But I think if we get multiple days going into the weekend that are near 40, we get multiple days going into next week that are near 40, and especially if we have some sunshine, that's when I think you're going to start to see this chip away a little bit more efficiently. That's when I think things are going to get a little bit more unstable. So I think you're good, obviously with still standard safety in mind if you're going out, but I think it's really going to be towards next week or even late this weekend that we'll probably start seeing a little bit more of a change in this coverage. We'll see what happens, but this is kind of how things look as we go into next week. I did want to pull this up because this is the European models ensemble, and what this does is it looks at all the different forms of the European model. What they try to do is they try to, take the model simulation in and they try to change little variables just to account for changes in the atmosphere. So if you've heard of the butterfly effect before, one of the common things that we talk about in weather, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Texas, does that lead to, say, a thunderstorm in Kansas? We could never know for sure, but what this does is it tries to take all of the European models, looks like my computer went out, there it's back, and it tries to account for all of those, and then it says what is the likelihood of getting a temperature above 50 degrees, and if I go forward in time here, it gets close to us on Friday, gets close to us on Saturday, gets close to us on Sunday, but never quite makes it into the state. And so I do think that while we're talking about temperatures that are well into the 40s, at least through Monday, I think our chances for 50 are pretty low. Let's see if we can go out a little bit farther in time. Let's try Tuesday. There's a chance Tuesday. It's not a great chance. If you look, it's saying only about a 10 to 20% chance of getting something near 50 or above. Maybe a little bit better going into Wednesday of next week. So I wouldn't say it's impossible based on the European model. The GFS says, okay, maybe a little bit better of a chance going into Wednesday. Nothing through Monday, but maybe Wednesday. And then it seems like Wednesday would be the day the percentage chance drops off a little bit. And then we'll see what the Canadian model says. Okay, so not unheard of in the model possibilities for next week that maybe we could be talking about temperatures that are a little bit warmer. Maybe we do get close to 50. I think at the very least we're in the 40s. This model right here, the blend that I was talking about, was saying about 46. So, what do you need? 4 more degrees and then we're in pretty good shape to actually hit 50, whether you want to or not. Winter lovers might not be ready to go there just yet. So I think that's something to keep an eye on next week. So let's check the comments really quick. Stacy is probably echoing the sentiments of many who have propane. She says we are going through it this year. I am not surprised to hear that. Let me see. Lynn says lots of snowmobiling on the bay. Zach, not liking the warmth yet, want chaotic snow. Is this temporary? I do not think we are done with winter just yet. Let me pull up something for Zach as his official chaos coordinator. We know, living in Michigan long enough, that this is not the end. You know better. But if I take a look, let me see if I can pull up sort of the longer term models here. Let me see if I can pull that up. This is the European ensemble. Again, this goes all the way out to about the 25th of February. It does get cooler again. Drops back down to about 29. And again, this is based on MBS Airport. And then let's see. That's the European ensemble. The American ensemble also drops off. That one has us getting to 50. Nothing is set in stone, but that does drop us back down to 30. And then the Canadian ensemble is a little bit cooler than the other two. Not by much, but they all have that same general trend of warming up towards the middle of next week on Wednesday, and then dropping off a little bit going into the middle and end of next week. So I do not think we're done just yet. Paul says, nice midwinter thaw. It seems like we go through that every year. Some years the thaws have been a little bit longer than others recently. But it does seem like we kind of have one of these periods. I don't know if anyone remembers going back into, what year was it? I want to say it was February of 2017, where we had a couple of days, I think, that got into the 60s. And people were golfing in mid-Michigan. I remember that. People were golfing, people were boating on the Saginaw River. I lived in an apartment along the Saginaw River back then, and I was watching people boat and fish in February. And I know that happens when the river isn't frozen, but people were legitimately boating and just going down the river like it was nothing in February. I think, February of 2017, I think it was. Let me see if I can find that. February 2017, warm temps. Yes, it was February 2017. Record high temperatures for Gaylord. Got up to 58 in Houghton Lake, so I imagine it was warmer in Saginaw. Grand Rapids put one out. It was 65 in Lansing, 65 in Jackson. Let me see. Ithaca got up to 60. Mount Pleasant was 62. So if anyone remembers 2017, February, that was a year to remember, that's for sure. Emily remembers. She lives behind a golf course, she says, so I'm sure she remembers that because there were people out there. And Zach says, thank you, Zach, no problem. Let me actually take a look at something else. Might have one more thing that I can show. Now we're going to have to talk about this with proper perspective, but this is the European ensemble, and this talks about snow, and it breaks down each little individual member of the European ensemble. So what this means is the European ensemble has 100 different ways of simulating the forecast, and so this takes all 100 different ways into account, and it spits out different results. And so you can see through at least Monday and Wednesday of next week, not many of them are actually predicting snow. But if you go all the way out to, say, let's see, looks like the 28th of February, at least I think, nope, this is March, excuse me. If you go out all the way to the 28th of March, this blue line here is kind of like the average or the control, and this is the mean. And what that's saying is between Tuesday the 10th, which is today, obviously, going all the way through the end of March, the model averages is saying somewhere around maybe 10 to 15 inches of snow. Again, that's the model average, so it could mean that we've got a couple of extreme scenarios that are really boosting the average. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a guarantee, but what it's telling you is winter's not over just yet. And we're going to have our fair share of snow left to go. How much is anybody's guess? Obviously, I'd have a lot more money if I knew for sure. But we are certainly not done just yet. And let me see if I can find. Let's see what I'm looking at here. This is also pretty cool. So this is also based on MBS Airport, and this is maximum temperatures. And so what you can do here is you can look for consistency. So if you look at where my mouse is, it might be a little tough to see. You see a lot of those blue shades kind of grouped together here. What that's talking about is it's talking about some of our warmth next week. If you look towards the right, the blue shades are anywhere between about 35 and 50 degrees. So you can pick out a warmer stretch here, but if you notice towards the end of February, this section right here has a lot more red, right? A lot more shades of pink or dark burgundy, that type of color. That corresponds to temperatures like this, 15, 20. And so the more that you kind of pick up on that shading here, you can see where we might see pattern changes. And so I think we're warm here in the near term going into next week. Does the month finish that way? We'll see. I think through at least about maybe the 20th to 22nd, 23rd, we could lean above average, but it wouldn't shock me if maybe that last week of February we start to flip back. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight. We'll see if we can hit 50 next week. I think that's pretty interesting. That it's not necessarily an impossibility. Chuck, good to see you. Otter Lake. My guy from Otter Lake. Always good to see you. Chuck, Bobby is going to Florida in April. That's not a bad choice. Linda says no more snow would be okay for me. Linda, I would love to do that for you, but Michigan is Michigan, right? Wendy, your birthday month coming up. Bobby says can't wait till 80s. Yeah, I'm ready for 80s too. Let's see what else we've got. Lynette from Pinconning. Yep, Sherry, I remember having snow at the end of April before. I remember we did TV5 Best and Brightest in May, and we had snow for that. So it is definitely a possibility. And Bobby says, my birthday tomorrow. Bobby, happy birthday. Barbara joining. Barbara, good to see you. Zach's still with us. Zach, hopefully you found that information helpful about winter temperatures and snow. That's kind of a behind-the-scenes look at how the forecast is made, for better or for worse. And nasty charts like that. They are the furthest thing from attractive charts, I can tell you that. But hopefully that made some sense as I kind of explained some of that. I might have to tell that to my students at SVSU tomorrow. Maybe give them some homework. Read that chart and tell me what you think it is. Valentine's Day, before I end the stream, Valentine's Day looks decent. Near 40, mostly sunny. I think we'll probably lose a decent amount of our snowpack that day. All right, cool. Glad you enjoyed it, Zach. Always appreciate you joining the stream. Sunday, a little cloudier, near 40, so I think we do a lot of work, I think, on Friday and Saturday, getting rid of some of the snowpack. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, not the most exciting forecasts outside of temperatures. Kind of a quiet period, which is good and bad because really wasn't sure what we were going to talk about tonight. We ended up talking about warmer temperatures a little bit longer. But it's kind of like when it was super cold out. You can only talk about these consistent patterns for so long before eventually it gets a little redundant. So coming up on 9:25, good to see everybody. We will do this again, and hope you all join. If you need the updates on when we're doing the streams, roughly about 9 o'clock each night, unless there's something that comes up that needs my attention a little bit more. If we have a technical difficulty or I have to handle something else, or the forecast is kind of throwing us for a loop. But most nights we will be here at 9 o'clock. You can get the alerts with the TV5 weather app. We usually send out a push notification when the live stream's about to start. It gives you a few minutes to join in. And we always appreciate it. And we will see all of you as we go throughout this week. And I, of course, appreciate you all for joining. And we will see you next time.